Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Sports Shorts Daily, presented by LeBear's Casino. Ronnie Rance here with you alongside Tommy Chrysan over at Tremonti's Meat and Seafood, the home of not only fine wines, as you can see behind them, but boiled crawfish. Today on Sports Shorts, presented by LeBear's, we're going to talk a little LSU baseball. The Tigers show that they're mortal during the midweek, their first midweek loss of the season. They fall 8-5 to the Raging Cajuns. I'll give you my thoughts on the game as I was on the call. Also, LSU women's basketball with some big news that Tommy will tell you about. That maybe the rich might get richer. Hopefully, if you're an LSU fan, you'll like the news that TK is about to tell you. Also, everybody remembers the DeMar Hamlin Buffalo Bills story, and then he collapsed on the field. They revived him. Thanks to the electronic paddles and everything. He's cleared to play football. It's an amazing story. We'll give some thoughts on that. And the Ole Miss Rebels, LSU's next opponent, 3-12 in the SEC, the defending national champs. It's going to be a giant series at Oxford, one of the better atmospheres in all of college baseball. They did move in the positive direction. They won last night on the road at Arkansas State, or Central Arkansas, I forget. But they won. They're getting ready for LSU this weekend. And let's hope that Mike Bianco's Rebels don't have their bounce back weekend this weekend. Let's bring in Tommy Chrysan, who's over at Tremonti's. First off, LSU baseball yesterday. They got beat by the better team yesterday, quite frankly. I mean, there wasn't the Tigers got out hit. I think they had 14 hits, did UL. They got hitting throughout the lineup. They played small ball. They played big ball. They had homers. They had sacrifice bunts. They stole a couple bases. I mean, they looked really good. They've got their All-American reliever finished it out with a save. They got a career-high performance from Cook, the St. Thomas More right-hander, who hadn't gone beyond 3 this year. He went 6 out of the bullpen. I mean, they look like the better team on Tuesday night.
Well, they were the better team, and they're doing well in the Sun Belt Conference. They expected to compete to win that, and hopefully find the postseason. So when you go on the road and beat the number one team, it's a big thing, and that's what the Raging Cajuns did, and they got it done. And LSU did not get it done, as you pointed out earlier. First midweek loss of the season for the Tigers, and you figured it might happen sooner or later, but it happened against a really, really good team. So now, you got to regroup. Jay Johnson's going to meet with the media today, and I'm sure tomorrow morning they're going to head off to Oxford, which is going to be an important series for a lot of reasons for LSU, from a pitching perspective. And, got to get all 3. That sounds a little ambitious, but that's what you got to do. Go get one at a time and get all 3.
Well, I got to be honest with you, Tommy. I have zero expectation of LSU of sweeping a series the rest of the year, and I mean that because the pitching is a mess right now for LSU. Hurd had his 7th. Thatcher Hurd had his 7th bad outing of the year last night in relief against the Raging Cajuns. He went 1/3 of an inning, gave up 2 hits, 2 runs, walked 2. Like it's so bad. It's a therapy session that's needed by a professional to get that young man back right, because there's nothing mechanically wrong with him. He's throwing 95, 96 miles an hour, but it's just he's a mess mentally, and it's a bad deal, and they can't do it without him, quite frankly. So right now your rotation is Skeens. Obviously, you give him the ball, you let him throw his 110 pitches, and wherever that lands, that's when he comes out of the game. And then you go to Ty Floyd, which is a little bit of a coin flip right now. You don't know if you're going to get a 3-inning Ty Floyd or a 5-inning Ty Floyd, but you need a 5-inning Ty Floyd. And then on Sunday, you basically are going the old you're kind of doing what you did last year when you went with Dutton on Sundays the second half of the year, and you hope for 3, and anything beyond that you was gravy. And so you're kind of like that with Christian Little. You 3 innings, give me 3 innings, Christian, and then after that, you play it by ear. That's where LSU is. And then when you go outside of those 3, they have confidence at the moment in Collins, who's got the really good overhand curveball and throws it in the low 90s. Riley Cooper, obviously, is a little bit of a switchblade for you, can do anything, start, relieve, long relief, short relief, but he's not great he's just able to have a rubber arm and do all those things. And Gavin Guidry, we didn't see him last night. I don't know if that means that there was an issue with his arm. I would have thought they would have wanted to get Gavin Guidry an inning worth of work. The fact that they didn't concerns me because they play things close to the vest and aren't very transparent with their injuries. So there's LSU pitching is in a pickle, and they're going to have to get 15 hits a game outside of when Skeens pitches.
Well, Ronnie, Javon Coleman only threw one inning last night, but I wanted to get your thoughts on that. And then I got my comments about winning all three. What about Coleman? What did you see? I know it's a small snapshot, but what did you see?
Well, he got very fortunate in the first batter of the game, the former Catholic High Bear, who's a freshman at UL. He swung at ball 4. It was a 3-2 count. Pitch was up in the zone, was a ball 4. He swung and missed. And if he walks that guy, now you have the leadoff guy on. You got to throw from the stretch. Who knows what the pitch count ends up? So he got fortunate because he was adrenalized. Broussard, maybe Robichaux was the leadoff. No relation to Tony, and he helped him out, quite frankly, and should have walked on the leadoff batter of the game. So, but overall, Coleman went 1 inning, didn't give up any hits, 3 up, 3 down, struck out 2, kept his pitch count to a minimum. Like, it was an ideal start for him just to get back on the mound, 13 months, to feel comfortable. Obviously, the next 2 days is the most important thing. How does he feel? And clearly he felt okay because he got up and started to warm up twice on the weekend, Tommy. He literally got up twice this past weekend, thought he might go in the game one time, didn't. And the fact that he got up twice in a weekend, here he is just 2 days later, pitched a game. That's a good sign that he's feeling pretty healthy.
Yeah, it is. And I'm glad to hear that. And even if he got a little help from the hitters, that happens sometimes. That makes up for that check swing ball that drops in and over the first baseman's head for a base hit. So I don't have a problem with that. That has to be encouraged. Back quickly to what I was talking about with the sweep LSU, sweeping Ole Miss. I know the pitching staff's everything you said. The questions are real. I'm just thinking they're going to outscore them in Game 3. Win the game 10-7 or 9-6, something like that. Because the offense is what's carrying the team, and that's my thought on the sweep thing there. So we'll see how that goes going forward. But it'll be interesting to see how this weekend happens. The Ole Miss fans are going to be wild and crazy. They're playing LSU. We all know the story up there. And they want to turn their thing around like they did last year against LSU in Baton Rouge, when basically, as you said the other day, saved Mike Bianco's job and then propelled them to a College World Series title. So they're thinking all those things like, okay, we played LSU last year. We took care of business. Let's do it again. Going to be a fun weekend for LSU baseball.
As far as the Tigers are concerned, Gavin Dugas was not in the lineup yesterday. Wasn't even in uniform. He had a pullover shirt on with no jersey underneath, and so they weren't even tempted to consider putting Gavin Dugas in the game. Don't know that I want to read too much into that, but clearly this lineup is completely different when the fifth-year senior is in there. He's had a sensational season. I would think that for the long run and for the betterment of the team, you definitely don't want to rush Gavin Dugas back too soon, regardless of whether he says, hey, I can play on this day. If you see something or your trainers or your doctors aren't 1,000% comfortable, I think you sit him. You'd rather struggle a little bit one weekend offensively as a team to have him for May and June than it is to just rush him back this soon. But he is such a vital part of this team. I mean, the lineup last night, when you don't have Dugas available, then who are you going to play at second base? You're going to play Merrifield. You're going to play Napolt. The Merrifield hasn't gotten a hit this year. Now it's 8-9 at-bats, but he's 0 for the season. Napolt's hitting under 200. So you lose – you go from a 175 hitter to a 375 hitter in Dugas. I mean, that's just gigantic. Defensively, he's about the same as those guys. But the point is that offensively, this lineup is completely different when he's in there. It makes it much more dangerous. You see Shane LeBlanc saying Gavin will travel with the team this weekend. So will Nate. so they're close to coming back. I would say that don't read too much into guys traveling these days. Lots of guys travel. Chase Shores traveled, in the past in the South Carolina series when he wasn't even going to pitch. So they just take guys because they rather have them there and be watching them, and they know those guys want to go because they don't want to be left behind. So just traveling doesn't mean that they're healthy. Gavin Dugas is saying he's going to play this weekend. We shall see. I think Jay's not going to play him until he's confident in those trainers, and I'll give him the green light.
Or he could DH and not worry about throwing the ball from second base, but then that means somebody else that's been DH is not DH. So you got some pieces to the puzzle there.
Yeah, if you DH Dugas, what that means at the moment is that Beloso wouldn't hit. I mean, right now he's the DH. You wouldn't have Beloso hitting, and boy, he had the triple in the very first inning or second inning, whatever it was, freaking first inning. Did Beloso, and then man, he came up with some crucial at bats later in the game and didn't come through. But he's had a fantastic year. You're probably going to have to sit. Beloso, if you decide to DH Dugas, you'd play Jones at first, and you play Morgan in left, and you would obviously play Merrifield or Napolt, do the lefty-righty thing with them at second base. But, fingers crossed that he can get back there this weekend. As far as the rest of the Tigers are concerned, Tommy White had 4 hits last night. But I saw something I had never seen before, Tommy. 2 drop fly balls in a row, lost in the sky, not the sun, because it was in the evening. 2 fly balls in a row, one to Morgan, one to Cruz on back-to-back players, which did in the Tigers, and at that point took them from a tie ball game or a 1-run game, and next thing you knew, Raging Cajuns were up, I think, 3 or 4 after that inning.
I was in Hammond last night, and it had 2 guys lost fly balls in that high sky, as the baseball term, that grayish-looking sky when it's not dark yet. And, Southeastern beat Jackson State 14-4. They started slow, but then woke up to that thing. So I saw the same thing happen in Hammond last night with that high sky.
I mean, I'd never seen that before. You're talking about 2 fantastic outfielders, and then Trey Morgan in the same inning ends up making a running catch, crashing into the wall, but yet on a ball that if he doesn't move, Tommy, and he went back on it, and the ball ended up about 15 feet in front. I think if he doesn't move where he was lined up, he catches it.
Now, did both balls go either past or in front of the guy, not to the left or right?
So the ball that was hit to Morgan in left field, he broke back about 15 feet, lost it, and the ball ended up falling where he was standing originally. And then on the Dylan Cruz ball, he was in center field. That ball was to the right of him, probably 40, 50 feet. Like he had no clue where that ball went. Yeah, and it was odd. Like I said, back-to-back batters in the game. I mean, it just did in the Tigers that inning.
And that's kind of crazy. You hate to see that because, those 2 balls are normally caught, can of corn. But they weren't. And, that's baseball, I guess.
It was wild. Riley Cooper. And by the way, the rule is the official scorer has the ability to make that an error versus a hit, right? Just like the guy at first base that, like, whoa, comes running into the mound to catch the ball, and he overruns it and jumps back, and the ball, falls. Oftentimes, the Little League scorebook would say, well, if you don't touch it, it's a hit. If the defender doesn't touch it, it's a hit. But that's not the rule. The rule is a judgment of the official score. And if a guy is camped underneath it and he loses it, well, why should the pitcher get the double?
Well,
and that's
agree.
What, like last night, Riley Cooper gets credited with giving up those 2 hits. And the first one, I'm telling you, Tommy, if Trey Morgan doesn't move, when the ball's hit, he stands right where he was standing. That ball hits him in the head. Instead, he went back, lost it, and it fell right where he was standing. But yet, Riley Cooper gives up the double when it was just a routine fly ball to left. See, I don't agree with that. And Joe Bear overran a ball down the right field line over the weekend against Kentucky, which cost LSU, 2-3 runs in a game. They credited, he didn't give him an error, and they should have. And the same thing should have happened for Cruz and Morgan.
I agree. And being a former pitcher, I mean, the ball's got to be caught. I think
Right.
they're all errors. I don't care if you dive for it; it's still an error. I'm being kidding there, but no, I mean that's got to be some kind of adjustment. And again, official score has got to step in there, no matter what ballpark it's at. Because I've seen this happen. This doesn't happen often. I've seen that pop up right in front of the first base dugout. Okay, I don't mean when the guy goes crashing in the fence. You sit underneath it, and you drop it. Okay, gives the batter new life. He gets a base hit. The scorer can go back and give that guy an error when dropping that pop up in foul territory if he chooses to do so. So, and I think I'm like you with these lost fly balls. I don't care if it's in Hammond or it's Baton Rouge or wherever it might be. The scorer's got to jump in and say, you know what, that ball should have been caught. If you lost it in the sun or the high sky, it's tough. It's a bad break. Baseball's full of bad breaks. That would be another one on the list.
Well, it was a situation where bizarre, and I'm not being the goofy former pitcher who says, hey, blame the defenders. I'm just saying it's not right. Somebody's going to take the blame. When that ball's hit in the air, it's either the pitcher's fault or the position player's fault. If it's an error, I'm not talking about a base hit. I'm talking about a routine can of corn hit right to the second baseman. Second baseman drops it but doesn't touch it. It shouldn't be a hit. It should be an error on the second baseman. And so Riley Cooper was very unfortunate last night. But credit the Raging Cajuns. They're now 10-5 in the Sun Belt Conference, one game back of Coastal Carolina. Remember, Coastal Carolina won the national championship a few years ago. Those two teams play each other in Lafayette, not this weekend, but the weekend of the 28th and 29th and 30th of the month of April. That's going to be a giant series, over in Lafayette. The two top teams in the Sun Belt Conference potentially would be doing a matchup the last weekend of April, and that's going to be a huge crowds. All right, we move on. LSU women's basketball, Tommy. They win a national championship, and when to the winner go the spoils, and it's being rumored, but there could be a big spoil headed to Baton Rouge.
Well, Haley Van Lith, who played for Louisville, and of course they got to the Sweet 16 or whatever it was, a big-time point guard with big numbers. The numbers speak for themselves. Took an official visit yesterday in Baton Rouge to see Kim Mulkey, to see the women's basketball program. Now, Alexis Morris is gone. She did such a great job at point guard. They need a point guard. They got a couple coming in, and they got a couple coming back on the team. But you can never have too many good players. And the thing here is Van Lith, when she decided to go to Louisville, it came down to Baylor or Louisville, and that's when Kim Mulkey was at Baylor. So there's an existing relationship there. We'll see what happens, but the rich get richer, as you said. The national championship. Michaela Williams coming in from Parkway, who I saw play and who is fantastic, super duper. LSU women's basketball has a great chance to be even better next year, whether they get Van Lith or not. But it's just good to have them in the news and keep riding the coattails of winning the national title. And who knows, they could put together a several-year run here with Kim Mulkey, who's an elite coach, making all the decisions.
Yeah, you saw Angel Reese even on her social media tweeted out a few days ago whenever it became, publicly known that the Louisville guard was going to transfer. And she was like, come on. And then look, on all the lists have LSU as the number one option for her. And it makes sense because they need a floor general. They need somebody to handle the basketball. There's a spot open right now. Here you go. It's yours for the next year or two. So, boy, that would be something else, wouldn't it? That would be something. By the way,
in fact, there was a picture on social media where Van Lith got like the long ponytail, the braided, and they had a picture of Kim Mulkey when she was at Louisiana Tech. They almost looked like twins, right? It was scary.
Right.
It was both an action shot, during the game kind of picture. It was for us. So we'll see what happens there. Time will tell.
By the way, she's probably about 8 inches taller than Kim Mulkey was when she played. But the other thing too is that she made estimated, and I don't know how they know all these numbers and everything because it's all such guarded secrets and who knows who's telling the truth and whatnot. But supposedly she made over $500,000 in NIL last year at Louisville. So, you leave that behind, you go to LSU. where they have a machine in place with all these people all on campus making tons of money, and you see your teammate Angel Reese is supposed to be one of the higher paid ones as well. I'm assuming not only do you leave to go get an opportunity to win a national championship and to broaden your brand, but you also probably have a chance to make even more money at LSU, you would think, than at Louisville. So it's going to be interesting to watch. All right, so good news out of the NFL, right? I mean, everybody is a Buffalo Bills fan last year, pulling for Damar Hamlin to recover. I never thought, Tommy, we would see him play again, but he's cleared to go and giving it a try, right?
Of course, everybody that was watching Monday Night Football that night in Cincinnati saw what happened. His heart actually stopped. He died on the field. And there's an interview with Hamlin I heard this morning where he said, "Hey, I died on the field. I'm every morning when I wake up and take a deep breath, I'm thankful. I got people that love me around me. I got people I love." He has met with 3 special doctors who all cleared him to play in the NFL. It's not like he went to 3 doctors and one said, "Yeah, you can try it," and 2, no, all 3 said he's good to go to play. It's quite the story for Damar Hamlin, number 1. Number 2, the NFL and the Buffalo Bills and the fans. It's quite a story. It's going to be, it's going to be amazing to see him go back on the field. I'm like you. I didn't know that we'd ever see it again. You never know. But it looks like we're going to see it, and that's good for him.
The Damar Hamlin story, I mean, is an interesting one. I'm curious to see. Look, I'm not counting this guy out. The fact that he's back and cleared to play in this quick amount of time is incredible.
A little over 3 months, yeah, a little over 3 months.
And it gives you an idea of the intestinal fortitude this young man has. Now, he's got a long road to go before he can get back on that field and earn a spot on the team and all that kind of stuff physically, and the weight he's got to gain and the pounding he's got to take. And they're going to be monitoring him like crazy. And but it's an inspirational story nonetheless for himself, his teammates, and everybody else involved. And will be the one that people will be watching probably the most in training camp, outside of where does Aaron Rodgers go and when does he go and all that kind of stuff.
Man, it's crazy, yeah. And so we'll see. An NFL draft's not this weekend, but next weekend. So Saints fans are checking it out. Lots of stuff being written about where they're going to go for defensive linemen, whatever. So NFL draft a little over a week ago. And Ronnie, LSU spring football is 1:00 this Saturday. I think on Monday I said 2:00. It's 1:00 spring football in Tiger Stadium. Fancy practice or elevated practice. That's all it's going to be. But they'll get 10, 12, maybe a few more thousand people out there to watch it. I mean, it is LSU football. And I was talking last night with some guys. LSU football has really flown under the radar this spring. One, as Jacques Doucet said on Sports Shorts Radio, Brian Kelly's been a little less forthright in his second spring training than he was before. And you heard Kim Mulkey's team winning it, gymnastics doing great, LSU baseball ranked number 1. So you had a lot of stories that were pushing spring football down the list a little bit. But the Tigers will, they've got a lot of injuries. So, it's going to be nothing but a fancy practice in Tiger Stadium, 1:00 Saturday.
By the way, speaking of LSU baseball being ranked number 1 in the country, this might be the last week for that they're ranked number 1 for a minute. If they don't go sweep Ole Miss and they finish 2-2 this week, after losing the UL, and let's say Vanderbilt continues or so, this may be the last week for a few weeks till they get the right ship. Look, it doesn't matter where you're ranked in April. It matters where you're ranked in July, right? When the season's over.
100%. And let's keep in mind the rest of the SEC schedule is softer in the first half for LSU. So, sweeping will be a little more important than, say, 2 out of 3 against, the Tennessee or 2 out of 3 against Arkansas. Things like that.
By the way, they need it to be softer with all the pitching issues that they have. And how about this? Pitching. This year, LSU avoids Vandy and Florida on their schedule. You better have a good SEC record if you're supposed to be the number 1 team in the country. They don't play Florida and Vandy, arguably the 2 best teams in the East. That is a scheduling dream.
It's a break. It's a break on the schedule, guys.
Big time. I mean, there's been years past where they didn't get the break. I get it. They're getting the break this year. Don't kid yourself in a big way. All right, TK, we'll be back tomorrow morning, no Friday, because Baton Rouge Rougarou will be working the Jeff Taylor golf tournament all day long at Carter Plantation on Friday. But and speaking of golf tournaments, May 1st, the Baton Rouge Rougarou golf tournament is going to be going on at Greystone Golf and Country Club. We have individual teams available. We have individual golfers available. It all supports the Baton Rouge Rougarou travel fund right there on your screen. Go to brrougarou.com, brrougarou.com. You can DM me, get in touch with me, whatever the case may be. Go to brrougarou.com. One team of 4 is only $500, and individual golfers $150. You'll get some Rougarou swag, lots of great food, restaurants, a $25,000 putting contest, you name it. Going to be going on May 1st, 10 a.m. That's a Monday at Greystone Golf and Country Club.
Am I eligible for that putting contest, Ryan?
If you're there in the tournament, you are, absolutely.
I'm not in the tournament. I'm working with the Tremonti's guys.
I mean,
I've been known to putt a little bit, you know.
Yeah, and you could definitely sign up for it and all that. You
Right.
have to qualify to get into the final, but yeah, you can definitely do that.
I'm going to be in, and I'll probably win it.
I hope so. Listen, we've got insurance. We want to give the $25,000 check away. Trust me. All right, he's Tommy Price saying, I'm Ronnie Rance. We'll be back tomorrow for more Sports Shorts Daily tomorrow morning at 9:30 a.m. Please like and share this video and tell us about Tremonti's on the way out.
Hey, the lunch special today is lasagna. Still got plenty of boiled crawfish, live crawfish, big crawfish bowl going out tomorrow to one of the plants. They can do catering services for you, no matter how small or large a group you got. Office, you want to feed 6 people in the office, or you want to feed 60 at a meeting. They can do it at Tremonti's Meat and Seafood, Jefferson Highway, Baton Rouge, right down the block from Parkview Baptist Church and School. Check out Tremonti's, and as Ronnie said, don't forget to like and share this video. That helps us out a lot. Many of you have been doing it. We appreciate that. Keep it up.
All right, we'll see you tomorrow for more Sports Shorts Daily. Have a good one.